This week, the Supreme Court handed down two decisions that should make every American's blood boil. And they did it with exquisite timing right before we lit 851,000 fireworks over the National Mall to celebrate 250 years of this country. Happy birthday, America. Here's your deep knife wound. Let's start with birthright citizenship. The court ruled 6-3 that children born on American soil to illegal immigrants and temporary visitors are automatically American citizens, forever. No questions asked, no loyalty required, no connection to this country's history, values, or sacrifices necessary. Just show up, have a baby, and congratulations. Here's your citizenship, your Medicaid, your welfare, and your ballot when you turn 18. You're welcome. And let me be very clear about what this means in practice. So someone can get on a plane, 9 months pregnant, land in, New York, deliver a baby at a hospital that you and I are paying for, fly back home, and that child is now a lifetime US citizen who can vote in every election for the rest of their life, collect welfare, and send checks back to their third world country if they so choose to. That baby can sit on a jury when he turns 18 and sit in judgment of you and me and our loved ones. That baby can decide who our mayors are, our governors are, or our presidents. That's what the Supreme Court just upheld. That is the country we live in today. A nation is not magic dirt. It is a people bound by shared history, shared sacrifice, and shared values. The idea that just physically touching American soil is sufficient to inherit everything that was built here by generations of people who bled for it, it's not just legally wrong, it's civilizationally suicidal. Stephen Miller said it better than I ever could.
Wound in the heart of the American Republic. Look, Jesse, I can step tomorrow onto the deck of a 747. It does not mean that I am the pilot of that plane and I'm qualified to fly it. Just physically being on U.S. soil does not make you a citizen or qualified to carry on or capable of executing the inheritance of this country. We have people from all over the world, from third world nations, nations that on their own would have never invented the wheel, let alone modern technology, let alone medicine, let alone air travel. And they can just come into the country, have a baby at a hospital, paid for by you and me, and then that baby's automatically a citizen.
He's right. There's no possible reading of the 14th Amendment that applies to foreigners with foreign loyalties, foreign citizenship, and obligations, foreign everything. The 14th Amendment was written after the Civil War to protect formerly enslaved Americans, people who had been here, who had built this country with their own hands, and who are being denied rights that were rightfully theirs. It wasn't written so that third world birth tourism could become an industry, or so that, someone could dock a cruise ship for an hour, have a baby, and produce a lifetime American citizen. If your constitutional interpretation requires you to suicide your own civilization, you're reading the Constitution wrong. No provision of the Constitution can be read to require national self-obliteration, and yet here we are. But birthright citizenship doesn't operate in isolation. You combine it with the mail-in ballot system the same court just blessed, where ballots can arrive with no hard deadline, where you don't even need to be physically present, where states like Michigan allow every registered voter to request an absentee ballot with no excuse required, and you start to see the full picture. Since I just mentioned Michigan, Trump won it over Kamala by about 80,000 votes? And that may sound comfortable until you start thinking about what the next 20 years look like. So just think about what birthright citizenship does to that math over a generation. Someone comes here, has a baby, goes home, that child grows up abroad, probably in a country with no particular love for America, comes back at 18 with full citizenship and full voting rights. And under the mail-in system the court just protected, they don't even need to show up. They can vote from anywhere. They can live in a foreign country and cast a ballot in Michigan that cancels yours. Now, of course, Some may call this a paranoid hypothetical, but I like to call it the logical end of these two Supreme Court rulings. Birthright citizenship produces the voters. Mail-in ballots harvest them. And the DSA provides the candidates they vote for. This is the play. And the Supreme Court just made sure the game continues. Now, let's talk about the mail-in ruling itself, because dear Amy Coney Barrett, the same Amy Coney Barrett that a lot of people fought very hard to get confirmed, wrote the majority opinion deciding that Election Day doesn't actually mean a day. Elections just sort of continue until someone decides they don't. She looked at the word day and decided it doesn't mean what it has meant for the entire history of this country. But think about what this means for 2028. A Democratic governor in a swing state decides the election hasn't concluded because not every ballot is in yet. No deadline, according to Barrett. So the electors don't get certified. And a state that maybe should have gone Republican just doesn't. Between these two rulings on the same week as the 250th birthday, the Supreme Court managed to dilute who gets to be an American and then make it harder to know if the Americans who vote actually decided anything. So, while the National Mall was preparing the largest fireworks display in history, the court was busy making sure fewer and fewer people in this country have any idea what they're actually celebrating. And what this all enables, because the Supreme Court ruling doesn't exist in a vacuum, but it enables people like Hassan Piker, for example, progressive streamer, one of the most influential voices on the left right now. His parents came from Turkey, they spent time here, had Hassan, raised him abroad as a committed Islamist communist, and then sent him back here with full American citizenship and full voting rights. And naturally, he is now here actively working to influence your politics and your elections. And thanks to this week's ruling, that pipeline stays wide open forever. And then there's Melat Kiros, 29 years old, democratic socialist, daughter of Ethiopian immigrants, what a shocker. She just defeated Diana DeJet, a 15-term incumbent who has been in Congress since 1997, the same year Kiros was born, in Colorado's 1st congressional district. Now, DeJet wasn't some moderate. She's a hardcore progressive, and she just got eaten alive by someone further left than she ever dreamed of being.
Do you believe that the 9/11 terrorist attacks on America were the inevitable consequence of American foreign policy?
Inevitable in the sense that we destabilized a lot of the Middle East, that forced people to believe that another act of violence was the only response. And again, just like I said before, our responsibility is to getting rid of those conditions that lead to violence in the first place.
Lovely, isn't she? And she's heading to Congress. And who is at her victory party? Of course, Hassan Piker. The anchor baby and the anchor baby candidate celebrating together. You really can't make this up. It's almost poetic. But this is not isolated. I mean, the DSA has now swept New York, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Colorado. They are already planning for 2028. They are serving all 250 of their chapters about who to take back for president. And AOC is already hinting at a run, although I don't know if she's progressive enough for them. But if you think this stops here, you haven't been paying attention.
J.D. Vance just said in an interview that he thinks you are going to be the leading Democratic candidate for president in 2028. What's your response to that?
I mean, I hope he is. That's what I'll say.
But he's a Republican nominee?
God forbid. But it's coming. And honestly, at this point, after everything we just watched this week, can you say you're surprised? Because all of this, it's one story, and the story is about what America is, who gets to be a part of it, and who gets to decide. So what does it actually mean to be an American? Because I think that's the question underneath all of this that nobody wants to sit with. It's not just a passport. It's not being born on the right patch of ground. Being an American means inheriting something, a set of ideas, a set of sacrifices, a civic identity that was built over 250 years by people who gave everything for it. It means having a stake in whether this country survives. It means understanding what you're defending and why. You can't inherit that by landing at JFK 9 months pregnant. You can't mail it in from abroad. And you certainly can't build it by electing people who think Western civilization should be eradicated. That's what's actually at stake here. Not just some Supreme Court rulings, not just a congressional primary. The question of what America is and who gets to decide. And we've been here before. In the winter of 1777, Washington's army was at Valley Forge. They were freezing, starving. 2,000 men died that winter, not in battle, but from cold and disease. Philadelphia had fallen. Every outside observer had already written off the whole experiment. But they held anyway. By June, they marched out, disciplined and ready. We have SCOTUS rulings that gut citizenship in elections. We have communists winning congressional primaries in Colorado and New York. We have a machine that is patient and organized and absolutely not going anywhere. 250 years of this country surviving people who wanted to burn it down. I like our odds, but only if we fight. And that's the reality check with Iulia. Happy 250th, everyone. God bless America.